I'm here in front of St. James Church in Medjugorje. If you can see over here, this is St. James. The confessionals are over here. And I'm with this beautiful lady here. Where are you from?
Muskegon, Michigan.
Wow,
America.
okay. And how often have you been in Medjugorje, you told me?
Well, I've been here 13 times.
13 times. When did you hear the first time about it?
The first time I was in 1997 that I came. And I read a book by Wayne Weibel.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually a Lutheran man. He wasn't Catholic, and he wrote a beautiful book, and it really inspired me, and it made me fall in love. I believed it right away. I started, but to back it up, during that time, I was going through a horrible, horrible time in my life. I'd been divorced twice, and I had 3 abortions. And after the 3rd abortion, I thought for sure that God could never forgive me. And I walked around in a kind of hell, really. I had panic attacks. I stopped driving the car. I could barely walk around my street just to get out of the house. It was a horrible time in my life. And so during that time, my aunt had come here to Medjugorje, and she came. We had a family reunion, and she came back and she told everyone about Medjugorje, and I wanted to know more about it, and that's when I read the book, and she started sending me the messages, and I wanted to come here, but I had such fear. There was no way I could get on an airplane. There was no way I could get on that airplane. So I started living the messages, and I started praying the rosary and trying to do some fasting. And so then I wanted to go to daily mass. And I had a hard time going to daily mass because there was a church near my home, but they didn't have it every day. And I do have a Polish church. I had to drive quite a ways to get to it, and I had a fear of driving. But I thought, if I really profess to be a Christian, I need to have some kind of trust. And so I decided I was going to do it no matter if I had a panic attack, whatever happened. And I got in the car and I lifted up my rosary and I said, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, just come with me and get me there and get me home. And I had never been to this church. That was fearful too. Everything was fearful to me. Fear is scary, you know. And I got in the church, and the only way I could make it up to Holy Communion and not have a panic attack was to sit in the very front row. So I walked all the way to the front of this church, and there was a huge crucifix on the wall over the altar. And I looked up there and I said, Jesus, I'm here, but I don't know how I'm going to get home. You're going to have to get me home. And it was a beautiful mass. And when I got done, I thought now that it's going to be impossible for me to get home in one piece. And there was a lady in the back of the church, and I knew her. She was a friend of my mother's, and I knew she was charismatic. And I thought, this lady would pray for me. And I just had the inspiration to go ask this lady. And she said, oh, sure, I'll pray for you. And she started praying over me, and I began to cry. And I couldn't stop crying. And I got in the car, and I drove all the way home crying. Well, I did that for 30 days. Every day I got over there, I saw the lady, and she prayed, and I cried. And what I realized was, if you're crying, you can't have fear. The fear they don't go together. And so little by little, I was able to pull through. Then one day, a lady came up to me, a friend of mine, and she said, I'd like you to go to not Medjugorje, Ireland. She wants me to go to Ireland. And I said, oh, I can't do it. I just can't do it. And then she told my mother, and my mother had come into some money from the government. She hadn't taken her retirement money, and she didn't think she could because she was still working. And they sent her this $12,000 check. And when my mother heard that these women wanted to take me to Ireland, they wanted to see if I'd get some kind of a healing, because everyone knew that I suffered with all of this. And my mother and dad came over to the house with an Irish knit sweater and the money to go on the trip. And I said, thank you, but I don't think I can do it. So they said, just pray. So after they left, I went down. We lived on not the ocean, on the lake, by the lake. I went down to the lake, and it was in March. It was still cold out. And I started praying the rosary, and I asked Our Lady, do you want me to go to Ireland? And I smelled roses. Very strong smell of roses. And I said, oh, Our Lady. Well, if you want me to go, okay, I'll go.
So we tell the spectators, if you smell roses, it means Our Lady is present.
Our Lady is what they say, it's Our Lady's present.
Yeah. And if you smell incense, that's God who is directly there. I had that one time, incense, strong smell of incense.
Yeah.
So keep going.
So it was very special.
Yeah.
But also I had to really stretch my faith and everything, because now I know Our Lady really wants me to go. So I want to back up real quick, if it's all right. There's something that happened to me just before this. I was asked to go to it's called the Life in the Spirit Seminar. Life in the Spirit Seminar. And it's a 7-day, listen, friends of mine just went by. But anyway, it's a 7-day retreat, let's say. And at the end of this retreat, the lady came up and said, Barbara, there's people praying over people over here on the left. You go over there and you get prayed over. And I said, oh, no, I don't want to do that. And she said, no, I insist. You need to go get prayed over. So finally she pushed me over there to do it. And there was a group of people, and this woman put her hand on my head, and she started praying. And immediately I felt I rested, what they call rested in the Spirit. Normally you leave the person on the ground and let them lay there, but she picked me up and she said, what's wrong with you? And I don't think she even knew me, but the Spirit knew. And I thought, oh dear, I don't want them to know. I didn't want the thing about women that have had an abortion, they want to hide it from everyone. They don't want anyone to know, because if they think if someone finds out, that they won't think highly of you anymore.
They will be rejected now.
You're no good, and why would you do such a thing?
But it's a lie, because people care. Good Christians
it's a total
care.
Lie. It's a total lie, and I found that out over the years. But anyway, so I said, well, I had an abortion. I didn't want to admit there were 3 at the time. I just said I had an abortion. And this man just, oh dear, and they started praying in tongues, and they were praying so hard. And then I heard the Lord say to me, tell him the whole truth. And so I just said, okay, I've had 3 abortions. And this man groaned. I'll never forget it. I thought that's what they do in heaven, when a baby dies of abortion. And then I heard, I tell you, it had to be Jesus. But it was probably a person, but Jesus used them, because I heard a man's voice say, receive my mercy and forgiveness now. And I thought, oh goodness, and I thought, I can't do it. I couldn't accept it. I just couldn't accept it. Basically, I couldn't forgive myself.
Another lie by day.
Because I'd been to confession, cried a million tears, but I still couldn't forgive myself, not yet. So then I heard it again. Receive my mercy and forgiveness now. And I couldn't yet do it. But then the 3rd time, it was so strong, and it was like your dad saying, either you do this or else, And I thought, this is my last chance. receive my mercy and forgiveness now. And I just said, okay, Jesus, I accept your mercy. And I began to cry. And then, oh gosh, probably like the year before this, I was going to a therapist, and he said, why don't you do something for your babies? You know, you should do something for them. And so I thought, I'd heard my brother was a therapist for Project Rachel, and he told how when the women come in for counseling, they have them name the baby, and you tell the child you're sorry, and you, in spirit, you baptize the baby and all this. So when I went home, I did that. I prayed for the names for my babies to know if they were boys or girls and all of this. My first child I named William. The second one I named Mary, and the third one Jean. And then I wrote a song for them. So after I admitted all this, with all my fear and everything, I was at total peace. I got up and I sang the song to the people that were there in the church yet about my babies. Everyone was crying. I didn't think anyone would ever hear the song because I just wanted it for them from me. But since then, I've sung it all over the world.
Wow.
But anyway. Okay, so I'm going to Ireland. Well, I still had horrible fear. And I went every day in front of the Blessed Sacrament, and I begged Jesus to help me get to Ireland. But I thought, how am I going to do it? Because, you know, when you have debilitating fear, you can hardly put one foot in front of the next. So the day came. I got in the car. We had to drive 3 hours to the airport in Chicago. And the song came on. This man had a CD playing. And that song, let's see. It's about finding other seas. I was going to sing it, but I just went blank.
Doesn't matter, so keep
okay.
on going the story then?
I'm not supposed to sing it. Yeah. But it's the song where you're going to find other seas, okay? And I was singing it, and I tried to just surrender everything. And then all of a sudden, I heard Jesus. I had his voice just like you and me. And he said, my daughter, when will you trust me? And I thought, uh-oh. Oh, dear. And I thought, oh, Jesus, I'm sorry. I'm not doing a good job of that. And he said, don't you know how happy I would be if you would trust me? And I thought, I didn't know I'd make you happy, Lord. I never even thought about that. I just, I'm so afraid of everything. And I just said, Jesus, okay. And the minute I said, okay, I will trust you, my fear evaporated into outer space, and I was free. Free. And I yelled out, hallelujah! And the ladies that were in the car with me, what? And I said, Jesus was here, and he took all my fear away. All I did was just tell him I trust him, and so I got on the plane and went to Ireland, and it was just one miracle after the next over there. And the next year, I went to Medjugorje, and that was a thrill. Jesus took all that fear away of flying and everything, and I could come here. And so then that was the first time, and that was in 1997. And then the next time I came was about 10 years ago with my nephew and my son and myself. And then I came again about 7 years ago, and I've been coming twice a year ever since.
Wow. And what did you tell people? Did you receive in Medjugorje? What is it special? What would you tell people who don't know Medjugorje? What is Medjugorje all about?
Well, first of all, a lot of people say, I've been to Fatima, I've been to Lourdes, I've been to a lot of different places. But what's special about Medjugorje is Our Lady's here now. I mean, did you ever think that you could have gone to Fatima when that was happening? You can come here and Our Lady it's happening. She is here. And you feel her here. You feel the peace. There's no place on earth like this place. There's no peace on earth like here. And you'll come, and it takes a couple days to get rid of the worldly stuff, and you start to enter into this place. And I always say it's kind of like stepping into heaven.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for this beautiful interview.
Do you want me to sing my song?
Yeah, I would love to.
Okay, so this is the song that I wrote for my children. And I want to say to anybody that's listening, if they ever have had an abortion, to remember that there is no sin that Jesus can't forgive. I mean, he came for us sinners, right? And if you look in the Bible, like all the different people that did terrible things, David, and they're beloved people of God.
He killed a person, David.
And
he's beloved. He's one of the great figures of faith.
Mm-hmm. And he told St. Faustina, the greater the sin, the greater my mercy.
Wow.
So, anyway, this is the song. It's called William, Mary, and Jean. Jesus, will you bring my children near? Could I hold them on my knee? I will tell them that I love them. William, Mary, and Jean. William, do you have your father's smile? Are your eyes like the ocean blue? Is your hair the color of the sun? Do you know how much I've missed you? Mary, you are my daughter. How lovely you must be. Do you have the voice of an angel? Is your face a bit like me? Jean, I only think of you, and my heart begins to break. For giving up my precious child was a terrible, terrible mistake. But Jesus, He brought you to me, and I held you in my arms, and I baptized you with my tears, and you forgave me. You forgave me. Now I ask you, my blessed Mother, will you rock them in your arms and feed them with the grace of God, for they need a mother's love. Jesus, will you bring my children near? Could I hold them one more time, I would tell them that I love them. William, Mary, and Jean.
Thank you so much for this beautiful interview.
Thank you.